it's been difficult to find someone who's not threatened by my ambitions.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever felt
Mhm.
that way. I'm sure a lot of us
Yeah.
have, but when you have someone, a partner, guy or girl, and they're threatened by your goals, it really makes it hard for you to thrive. So I think the first challenge, and again, it's a lot of internal work,
Mhm.
is imposter syndrome.
Okay.
So I think for me, like I mentioned in the beginning, because I don't see a lot of people that look like me in my industry, like I'm gonna be honest, I work with a lot. My whole team is
No matter where you come from, no matter how you grew up, and no matter the amount of money you saw growing up, you can create a world for yourself. Welcome back to the couch, y'all. Welcome back, welcome back. Make sure before we start this beautiful episode that y'all subscribe to this channel, show us some love, and y'all, guess what? I need you to comment. Go to the live chat right now and comment, drop those green hearts and let me know you're here. And there's a little money symbol down there. Go ahead and press that and see what it say, okay? So today, y'all, I know the girls have been gone for a few weeks because they've been recharging and rejuvenating, and I'm letting them rest, okay? But just like all the other episodes, we are diving into the lives of remarkable individuals. And today I have one. She's beautiful. She's a Latina and she's spicy, okay? And she is making waves in the tech world. And today we're going to talk about the tech world, the pros, the cons, the pay, all the things, the cloud and how to sell it. She know how to do all all the things. And we're just going to see where she come from, what she does, who she is, and her name is Astrid.
yes.
Y'all go ahead and clap while you're at home cuz I know y'all
Thank
see it.
you.
Go ahead and clap for this beautiful lady.
Thank you so
Thank you for coming
much.
to the
I
couch.
know. Thank you for having me. It's
Thank you,
been
thank you.
awesome.
So, tell the people, let's get started. Who is Astrid? Where are you from?
So, I'm a Latina from Los Angeles,
Mhm,
California. So that's I moved all the way across from the West Coast.
mhm,
And basically, this my story is I came from a low income background, and I was raised in this little town city called San Fernando. So my parents they had me and my siblings very young. I
mhm,
think at my age, I'm 25. My mom already had like three kids
mhm.
already.
Yeah.
And just growing up, because they had kids so young, they weren't really able to focus on themselves and their careers.
Mhm,
So they spent a lot of their time investing in us and pouring into us. And so growing up, my parents really were focused on let's give our children the proper education because
mhm.
to them, education was the way to be successful in life
Right.
in the future for your career. You get a good education, then you get a good job and you can establish, generational wealth for
For
your
sure.
kids in their future. So I'm really grateful for that. So growing up, I was very lucky to attend private schools in LA, the
Nice.
best of the best.
Yeah.
And I was on full financial aid, which was great, but yeah, growing up and going to private school and seeing just the amount of wealth and resources that
Mhm.
everybody had there, it was insane. Like, especially in LA, there's a lot of celebrities,
Yeah.
there's, big companies. And
Mhm.
so a lot of the kids I went to school with were the children and the grandchildren of like celebrities and CEOs of big companies. And to be around that, I was just so amazed. And again, when I would come back home though, it was kind of the opposite. It was like five of us living in an 800 square foot home and, two bedrooms. My parents like would sleep in the living room because there was me and my sister would get one room, my brother would get the other, and then they would sacrifice and sleep on a futon in the living room. And so with that, it just opened my eyes being in two different
Mhm.
worlds. But I knew, okay, the sacrifices my parents are making, I need to, give back and actually put in the effort as well. So I made sure that I, took advantage of my education. And from there, I ended up going to Princeton University. Thank you. on a full ride, on full financial aid, which is
That's
great. So
amazing.
thank you. So I didn't graduate with any debt. And from there, yeah, I ended up in my job in tech sales, which, has exceeded my expectations in
Mhm,
terms of just how much, not only pay, but like how it's been afforded me a lifestyle that I didn't think was possible, or I
mhm,
knew it was possible. Again, growing
mhm,
up with those kids who, attending private schools, but I never knew, okay, how would I get there? I just knew, okay,
mhm.
this is what I want in my life. just from seeing it. And now when I can finally work, I want to get to that point where I can provide that lifestyle for myself and even, to my future kids and my parents, hopefully retire them.
That's dope.
Thank you.
Sounds beautiful. Okay, so why are you so passionate about women of color
Mhm.
getting into this tech field and just having financial freedom, period?
Yeah, so I am really big on this because one, there was a fact I read a year ago, and
Mhm.
and it was that Latinas like me were the lowest paid working demographic
Wow.
in the U.S. And hearing that stat, I think the specific stat was we get paid 57 cents to every dollar that a white male makes on average. And when I heard that, it just made me so sad because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, why is that the case? If Latinos in general are one of the biggest components of our population,
Mhm.
we make up a lot of America and we're growing. How can we make up such a small
Yeah.
amount, or how come we make so little?
Mhm.
That shouldn't be the case. It's not that we're not smart enough. It's not that we're not as hardworking. In fact, I think Latinos are some of the hardest working people that
Mhm.
I know. But and also another fact was that women in tech and or women in STEM make up only 2%
Right.
of the tech industry, and that in itself too is another statistic that makes me feel sad inside because I'm like, okay, here I am, in this world where there's nobody that looks like me. There's
Mhm.
very few people, and I always think I don't know about you, but I feel like when I see people that look like me
Oh, for sure.
and in positions of power, it inspires me to
Mhm.
want to do better. It
Yes.
inspires me to want to be just like them.
Mhm.
I admire it. I'm like, when
Mhm.
I see someone who's like, top of their game, I'm like, I want to be like that. I'm not
Absolutely.
jealous. I'm more like, let
Yep.
me, it's possible. Let me work to it. So for me, it's like seeing that representation. I think that's what people don't
Mhm.
understand. It's like, yes, you want to hire the most qualified people, but if that's implying that women of color are not qualified, and that is the furthest from the truth.
Furthest from the truth.
There's so many talented people
Yeah.
out there that like companies need to do better at finding them. So for me,
Mhm.
I just want to be an advocate for people like me because I want to show, hey, this is where I'm at. This is the steps I've taken to get
Mhm.
here, and I want you to know
Mm.
it's possible too because I don't want anyone to feel like, hey, I can't get to that goal or it's just
Mhm.
not possible. So
Okay. So when you say tech sales,
yes.
tech sales, tech sales, how much are you making?
Yes, so I
For
love
the
that you
people,
asked this.
how much are you
I'm
making?
known, or I hope to be known for being completely transparent with my
Mhm.
pay. So yeah, I can take you on my journey. So starting off, I actually had a pretty high salary because I
Mhm.
was living in New York, so it's expensive.
Very.
So I started off with 90K with what's called 135K OT. So
Mhm.
OT means on target earnings. And basically in a sales role, when you get paid a base pay plus commissions, right?
Mhm.
So on target earnings mean that if I hit all my numbers, if I sell everything I'm supposed to, then I get up to my on target earnings. And I could also get more if I sell more. So my on target earnings was 135K, meaning if I, hit 100% my number, I get 135K.
Mhm.
So that's what I started with. Then I got promoted pretty quickly, like a year in, and I ended up being an OT of
You
171,000,
better go.
which I hit. So I was like, at age, like I think it was 23. I'm like, I'm already gonna make $171,000. It was
Sheesh,
insane.
yes.
And then now I recently got promoted actually in the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
And now I can make my OT is 250,000. So
Give me some. Give
thank
me
you.
some.
So I to be a quarter like
Uh-huh.
to be able to make $250,000 at my age at 25 is just insane. Like I swear, like I knew I would always do,
Mhm.
make sure that I got paid well and did the best I could. But again, to accelerate my journey
Mhm.
so quickly, it's afforded me so much freedom. And again, like we talk about
Mhm.
financial freedom, that's what I'm aiming for. It's like I want the ability to eventually be work optional and
Mhm.
to also buy back my time to do the things that I love. That's traveling, hanging out
Mhm.
with friends, going out,
Mhm.
experiencing new things. So yeah, I love it. 250K. And
That is
and that's what
amazing.
I say it so proudly. It's not to brag, but I always say for when it comes to pay transparency, it's important for two reasons.
Mhm.
One, it lets you know if you're getting paid enough. So
Mhm.
some people, they find out, oh, like I'm getting way underpaid,
Mhm.
you know? So it lets you know, am I getting paid fairly? And then the second thing, it lets you know again what's possible. When I hear what's great is like a lot of the people who have advocated for me
Mhm.
to increase my pay have actually been other women.
Wow.
So the
That's
women in my
good.
life, my female colleagues have said, "Hey, Astrid, this is what I'm making. This is what I've gotten a raise for,
Mhm.
and this is how you should advocate for yourself." So that's why I like sharing it with the world because I
Oh, for
want
sure.
people to know, like, hey, this is the steps I've done
Mhm.
to get to where I'm at, and this is what you can take as well, and hopefully it helps. So,
That's why she's here. So, I hope y'all got your notepads out
yes.
because we're diving in. We're
Mhm.
not done. Um, my audience comes here for healing purposes and evolution purposes and transformation purposes. And your story of baby Astrid all the way to
Mhm.
now, still young
Mhm.
Astrid, but how was it? Were there any challenges mentally, just in your mind, your spirit, your soul, coming from the household you were born in to private school, experiencing? Because I have a story. One of my best friends, she was like, because we all grew up in the hood over here, y'all. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Um, and I remember her story, and it was kind of like my story. We go to a friend's house, and then
Mhm.
they have hardwood floors, and the curtains
Yeah.
are clean,
Mhm.
and there's no bugs, there's no water stains. There's
No,
like,
I had
what
a friend
is
where
this?
she had a couch, you couldn't even sit on
Sit
it.
on
It
it,
was
huh?
decoration. She had like these little like just decor everywhere
Mm-hmm.
that was just like you can't touch and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And that
opposite
was
of
our
mine.
moment. We were like, we're gonna get this.
Yes,
We're
exactly.
gonna.
Mhm.
So for you, can you tell our audience like what was your turning point where you said and what pushed you to go,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let that define me in this
Yeah.
point. And how are you getting over some of those things?
So there was a lot of turning points. So just to give some context, like growing up, again, a small home,
Mhm.
where it was, I initially we were living in front of my grandma's house. So it was
Mhm.
two houses on one property, and which was great to be near my grandparents.
Mhm.
But for instance, we had as our kitchen table a student desk, two-person student
Mhm.
desk for like 11 years,
Oh
and it was
wow.
just all yeah, we had a futon, like it was just all very small, and but again it was home. Like
Right.
the one thing I always appreciate is that my parents gave us so much love that I never saw it as I was struggling. I
Mhm.
never saw it. And
I
then
say that now because we had a three-bedroom. It was six of us, three bedrooms, one bathroom
oh
for us, right?
yeah.
And I literally go back to my mom and I'm like, I never knew, never felt that.
Yeah,
Now,
you
even with three
don't.
bedrooms, I'm still like, why can't I get, and I feel it, but I'm like,
No,
how did we
yeah,
do
you
that?
never you I again I am shocked at my parents again to find out too what they were making at the time.
Yes.
I'm like, I feel like I'm struggling right now to pay stuff. Like not to feel
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Like I don't have kids. I don't have major responsibilities like that.
Right.
And yet I'm like, wow, how did my parents make that on less than, 40K
Mm-hmm.
combined? And so for me, the turning point was when I would go sleep over to my friends' houses at when
Mm-hmm.
my friends I made at private school, and they had these huge homes like with marble floors,
Yeah.
and one girl had, I think I was like 8 bedrooms, and every bedroom had its own bathroom. Like it was
Wow.
insane. And I only talk about that in the sense of like, wow, like just the amount of wealth I saw, but it was just astounding, and it made me realize like, hey, this is what I want. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is something, if again, if they can do it, why can't I?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I'll get there, but
Right.
to be around those people and to see that, it just put it in my perspective. And it also was really great where I had parents where they constantly encouraged me and my
Mm-hmm.
siblings. They all constantly said, you know what, the world is yours. What are you going to do with
Mm-hmm.
it? So to hear that positivity and to have them kind of just saying, hey, we know you guys are going to do way better
Yeah.
than us. And that's what you want. It's like ultimately every generation needs to be better than the next.
Mm-hmm.
And I even think about that myself with my younger brother. I have an older sister and a younger brother, and he's in college right now. And everything I've learned along the way up to now, I tell him now. I'm like, "Hey, you
Mm-hmm.
need to get a credit card and start building your credit," because I remember out of college, I was trying to get an apartment in New
Mm-hmm.
York City, and I couldn't get one because they told me, they're like, "You have no credit history.
Mhm.
You don't have any money.
Right.
Like, you all I had was a job offer." And at the
Mhm.
time, I was making my offer letter was still more than my parents. It was
Wow.
combined. So they told me, they said, "Hey, you need a guarantor." A guarantor is someone who's going to basically cover you if you don't make the payments. Like,
Mhm.
and that guarantor had to make 80 times the monthly rent. And I was like, in New York City, the
What?
monthly rent's already like
Right.
$5,000 to $6,000, right?
For a one-bedroom?
Yes. So no, this was with a roommate even.
Oh,
So yeah, a
wow,
roommate. So no.
girl.
So I remember that, and I was like, how am I gonna find anyone?
Mhm.
Like I don't,
Mhm.
nobody makes more than that. And luckily my aunt, who she doesn't have any kids, she invests all her time in
Mhm.
her nephew, nieces and nephews. She said she would sign on. So luckily she did that for me. And but I wouldn't have got an apartment. I was so worried about that. I was like, darn it, like I can't live my dream just because of these things I just didn't know. I mean,
Mhm.
most of us are probably taught like credit cards are evil. Like,
Bad, yeah,
you're
girl.
going to get into debt, right? My
Mhm.
parents taught me that.
Yep.
And the funny thing, right? And then the funny thing is though, just last week, my brother, he's going to NYU. And
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
Look at
And
y'all.
he, I know my parents are very
I
proud of us.
know.
And he was looking for a new apartment, and he said, "Astrid, can you be my guarantor?" And so full circle, I was able
Can I
to.
wait a second? That's when the Bible says you'll become the lender, not the borrower. Let me tell you something. How that thing turn around?
Yeah, I know, full circle
That is
moment. I
amazing.
know, and then just to be able to, like, to sign off on him, to I
Yes.
was able they asked for so much, they asked for pay stubs, all this stuff, but to show that, "Hey, I can cover my brother." I mean, he better make all his payments,
He
but
better, you better
but
look, be a good steward now.
yeah.
Be a good
But the
steward.
fact that I'm able to do that now is
That's a
just,
blessing.
it is a blessing. And I think, my parents' efforts were not done in vain.
Oh,
And
for sure.
and again, now that I'm in the position I am, I want to make sure that my, younger siblings are learning sooner than
Mhm.
I am. I want them to be set up for their future. I mean, I'm still young, but he's even younger. Let him let him do his part.
Yeah.
So
And how
yeah,
old is your brother?
my brother's I'm 20. He's 21. So
Okay, cool.
he's older.
Mhm.
I keep thinking he's 18, like younger, like
Mhm.
high school. But so that's something, a story where, again, recently it happened to me, and it was just, I was just
Mhm.
so grateful. I said, "Thank you, God, like, for giving me this opportunity to not only give back to my siblings, but also just to realize that I've just been so blessed by you."
For sure.
And so there's just been so many turning points like that in my life, where I think every step of the way I realize, um I like to work backwards. So I always tell
Yeah.
people, choose what your end goal is and then work backwards from there. So if you want to make six figures, okay, that's great. You have a high
Mhm.
goal. Now, what is it going to take to get there? What are the steps to get there? Because I
Mhm.
think a lot of people, when they are just feel lost in life, they're
Mhm.
just like, well, what do I do? And they don't know where to start. And I think sometimes working backwards from your end goal is a good way to have focus
Mhm.
and to help you get to where you need to be.
That's
So
beautiful.
thank
That's beautiful.
you.
Okay, so y'all, we're getting there. We're
Yeah.
gonna get into some ways for you to, if you have questions about the tech industry period, and how you can start doing that. We're gonna get to it. So stay tuned. But right now, I want to know,
Mhm.
since we on the couch, how is it looking in the dating realm for you? Because I know, people always talk about when the man make a whole lot of money, women going after the man, and that's all they
Yeah.
want is resources. But this lady's making the money.
Yes.
And I don't even remember who said that. She said, "Now we're the men with all the money." Like, it's like now the women are
Yeah, women are
getting
now,
the bag.
and they're doing it all. They're,
Yes.
they're taking care of their families,
Mhm.
they're, getting the bag like you
Mhm.
said, and just everything looking good, looking
Mhm.
pretty. So,
Yes.
dating, so I'm gonna be honest, before it's been tough. Like, I really started dating, I would say, like in college.
Mhm.
And that was tough. I'm gonna be honest. I'm what you call a serial monogamous. So my first two relationships in college were tough. I actually had my first boyfriend. He told me, he said, "Don't expect to make more than this amount." because I remember I was really focused on, like I said, my goal set, and he told me that, and it really hurt my feelings. He says, "You're not that great at coding." At the time, I wanted to be a software engineer,
Mhm.
and I was like, "This is not for me." But
Mhm.
this is where the money's at if
Mhm.
if you do coding, right? If you do software development, and he was in that field as well, so he was really good, and I would take a lot of advice from him. But then I realized he just didn't support me as much as
Mhm.
I thought, and I think that really it obviously hurt my feelings. And then even after that, other partners I've had, it's been difficult to find someone who's not threatened by my ambitions.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever felt
Mhm.
that way. I'm sure a lot of us
Yeah.
have, but when you have someone, a partner, guy or girl, and they're threatened by your goals, it really makes it hard for you to thrive. So that's become on my list of like,
Mhm.
I just want someone who values me and who I am. So for me, I think when it comes to dating, the key is to finding someone who aligns with your values.
Mhm.
What do you value in life? Whether that's, family, friends,
Mhm.
God, is it could be work. Work
Mhm.
can be, I don't necessarily value work, but for me, I value my
Listen.
goals and ambitions. I
Mhm.
value my drive because that's just who I am. Astrid is known for being, persistent and,
Mhm.
and ambitious. And so I was really looking for that. And I've been lucky. I'm currently dating a guy where he supports that in me.
Yeah.
He's never threatened. He sees me as
Mhm.
just someone like a strong woman who he admires, and I love that he gives me peace. And
Come on. And
ironically,
and that part,
yeah, and then
that
people
part.
laugh. Like I have friends laugh when
Mhm.
I say that, but when you find someone who gives you peace, where you could just feel like, hey, I'm coming home after a long day.
And you want to.
Yeah, and I wanna
And
come
you want
home and
to
I can just be with
be
the
you.
be you
Nothing
exactly.
extra, nothing
Yeah,
more. Girl, I
exactly.
got the
It
same
gives me
thing.
peace.
I got the same piece, I'm
Be
telling you.
because and the funny thing is I used to think, and I'm sure a lot of us do, that toxic
Mhm.
mix, they call it they call it being like una toxica, so like a little
Mm,
toxic
okay.
girl. I used to be that girl. I
Okay.
used to think that, okay, if if there's struggle, that means you love the person,
Mhm.
right? That
There's a
means
little
like,
pain,
yeah,
he
if
really
there's pain and
cares.
passion, there's passion in the
Mm, yeah.
relationship. And the guy I'm currently dating, there's none of that. I mean, obviously there's, you have your
Mhm.
arguments and stuff like that, but I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, we're supposed to be arguing.
I did that with
Right?
Bay, I did.
Yes. You think like, oh, like, well, do you love me
Right, do
like
you even
that?
care?
Yeah.
You know?
And
Yep,
it's like, no, I realize like you can truly be in a relationship where there's none of that
mhm,
toxicity, and that you guys grow together and you share what you
yep,
love. And it's truly beautiful. And I feel so, and again, I feel so at peace, like I mentioned, and I also feel like I can take on the world. And I
mhm,
think that's the key. It's
and
like,
you are,
yeah, thank
clearly,
you. and
clearly.
and a lot of people bring up like, okay, well, what happens when you're a woman who makes a lot of money, like you mentioned? And I'm lucky where my guy, he doesn't feel threatened by that at all. And again, we work together as a team, and he just lets me be who I am,
Mhm.
ultimately. And I think also what people need to realize, that in relationships, there's many forms of currency. It's not just
Yes.
like physical money, I
Mhm,
can buy you stuff. There's, emotional
mhm,
support, there's patience,
mhm,
there's um just the little things. Like for instance, if I'm super stressed out, he'll cook for us,
mhm,
or he'll find something that can make me feel better, bring me home flowers
mhm,
and we'll watch a show together. Whatever
mhm,
it is, the little things, I think the thoughtfulness is
mhm,
what I value.
mhm.
And that's what he shows. And I think all partners need to realize, like, it's not just the money, I can, afford to take you out. It's more so, hey, I can be thoughtful and understand what are your needs and how can I fill that
That's
when
dope.
needed. So it's been tough before, but I think I'm finally at a place where, it's not I'm not getting told no, because it's hard. And I'm sure a lot of women experience this.
Mhm.
Is like, you look back on your past relationships, and you're like, how did
How
I
the
put up
heck?
with that? Right?
And I just be like, "God, thank you so much for covering me in
Yeah.
those decisions that I kept saying yes to, that I should have
Yeah.
said no to, for
Like some
sure."
of the things the relationships I look back, I'm like, why did I ever allow myself to
Mm.
put that? But then I try to always spin something to the positive, and I say, you know what? Had my current relationship knew me back then,
It
it
wouldn't have
wouldn't have worked
worked.
out. I
It
probably
wouldn't
would
have
have been a
worked.
mess. I probably
No.
would have been even more toxic than
Yep.
I am now. So, well, I'm not toxic now, but then I was
What did you
una
say?
toxica.
See, I'm gonna
So
let you have it.
yeah, so you don't want to be that,
I
but
got you.
you got a little, I get my spiciness here and
Mhm.
there, but uh basically I think if you find someone ultimately who aligns with your values,
Mhm.
figure out what you want in life and then find someone who fits that bill. Everything else is going to be, I don't want to say compromise, but everything else it's a learning opportunity.
Mhm.
There may not be a guy where he's exactly the height requirement you
Right.
want, but at the same time, if he fits, like, again, those core things, it works out. Like, I think that's what.
And is he in tech sales?
No, he's not. So
Is
he
is he in tech at all?
no. So
Oh,
people,
wow.
the funny thing is, people always think that he is in tech, but no. This was kind of my own path. He's in real estate. So
Okay.
so kind of similar with selling, but tech sales is
That's
completely
dope.
different. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you got a little balance going on. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. Okay, y'all. So we're gonna ask Miss Astrid a few questions about tech sales, just in case you want to get into it. And I know on her page she has a ton of information. A ton of information. Do you have a YouTube too?
No, but
We
I
gotta
need to
get you
create one.
a
I
YouTube.
know. I need to start
Yes.
filming. Yes, you're
So
right.
yes, we're gonna ask if someone wants to get into tech sales, what should they do?
Okay, so that this is something I've been really trying to figure out, like, okay, what is the
Mhm.
best path towards it? What's great about working in tech sales is that it's no degree is required. Like, people always ask, well,
Mm.
do I need to be certified to work in tech sales? It's like,
'Cause she
no.
went to Princeton, y'all.
Yeah, and so I had a traditional path, but I could have gotten here without doing,
Mhm.
engineering in my degree. So for tech sales, it's essentially simple terms. You're selling a company's technology to
Mhm.
other businesses. It's normally a B2B format, so business to business. So that entails a lot of different things. Like, for instance, I always use the example Zoom,
Mhm.
Zoom web conferencing. That's if there's sellers for Zoom, and that's considered tech sales because Zoom is trying to sell its web conferencing platform to other businesses to enable them to, work
Mhm.
remotely and conduct business. So there's no certification or degree in Zoom.
Right, right.
So that's what I first like to lay out. It's like it is possible for
Mhm.
everyone to get tech sales. You just have to decide, is this the path for me? Do I want to be in sales? Because it takes a lot of,
Mhm.
I would say, soft skills to really master it. Like, are you good at building relationships? Do you love to be organized, presenting, communication, negotiating? Those are the things you have to figure out if that's for you. So, what I always recommend is to really evaluate, look up what a typical sales role is
Mhm.
like. So, an entry level role for tech sales is called an SDR, which is a sales development representative. And so
Okay.
those are the people who will be prospecting and looking for new opportunities,
Mhm.
new leads of buyers who might be interested in your product. I would look into that. And then the second thing I would do is then figure out, okay, what are my transferable skills from what
Mhm.
I've currently done into sales? So, for instance, if you're a realtor, well, there's a lot of transferable skills there. You love building relationships with people. You're very organized. You've worked with contracts. You've, been good at negotiating
Mhm.
on your buyer's behalf. Those are those things you want to highlight. So I would really look at your transferable skills and revamping your resume to fit those
Mhm.
qualifications. And you're like, okay, well, how do I know what my or how do I know what qualifications I need? I like to read the job descriptions of roles I'm applying to and see and find keywords that match up exactly. So
Okay.
if they say they need someone who has been able to set a specific goal and exceed it, then I'm going to talk about a time where I had a specific goal and
Mhm.
whatever it was, and I exceeded it
And you
by
knocked it out. Yep.
50%, whatever
Got
it
you.
was. So those are the parallels you need to draw. And again, you could do that with most roles, even like teaching is a good one, how you've been able to curate lesson plans for your students. When it comes to sales, you need to
Mhm.
be able to curate your presentations, what you're talking about, to your audience,
Mhm.
to your buyers. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I would say is to network, network, network. You
Mm.
want to constantly be networking with people. So reach out, revamp your LinkedIn, reach out to people, recruiters especially. They're incentivized to want to hire.
Mm.
So recruiters kind of like get paid commissions if they hire people successfully in their company. So if you're able to get them to see your resume and they're like, oh, you're a good fit, then that's a perfect opportunity. So things like that. And then again, and then build, if you think there's this particular area you want to sell into in tech, find industries that align with your experience. So for
Mhm.
instance, I helped a girl a young lady where she worked at a bank and she did so financial services.
Mhm.
And I told her, I said, there's a lot of tech companies trying to sell into the financial services space. They
Mhm.
want their technology wants to help those people, to help banks, insurance
Mhm.
companies, whatever it is. And so I told her, really focus on that, highlight that, because they're gonna value the knowledge you
Yeah.
have in that area, and they're gonna say, hey, she knows this space pretty well, and she's gonna help us sell into it.
Mhm.
So little things like that are really what helps with getting
Okay.
breaking into tech sales.
And as you're talking, I'm thinking like, in order to do all of that, you really got to know who you are.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
everything you said, I'm like, a person has to have the confidence, have to
Yes,
have like, you
no.
have to and almost brag on yourself a bit.
Yes.
And that's hard for people. That's hard for people to do. I'm still learning how to, yes, I did do that. Yes,
Yeah.
I did add to that. Yes, that is
Yeah.
my
I think, and the
product.
key
Yeah.
too with any resume is, like you said, don't be afraid to like boast about yourself
Mhm.
and show the impact you made. Like, I think with everything, you have to answer the question, so what?
Yeah.
Like, why should people care?
Mhm.
You could say, yeah, I mean, most people on their resume, they might write, like, I did XYZ, like the task anybody does in that role.
Mhm.
But what impact did you have on that?
Mm.
Were you able to rate, like, if you did funding for something, if you were somebody who had ask for funding, did you raise like 20% more than previous people, or than
Mhm.
previous year? Were you able to raise like $1 million for a
Mhm.
certain event? Whatever it
Mhm.
is, you need to really, like you said, take the time to brag about
Yeah.
yourself and figure out, okay, what impact did I have
Yeah.
personally on that role and that
That's
experience?
dope. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, so before we go, what are two of the biggest challenges that you faced in the tech industry? So
Okay,
people will know.
there's lots.
And then give us one of the biggest benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So two of the and that's a really
So
great
let's do
question.
one challenge and one benefit.
Yes,
Let's do
okay.
that.
So I think the first challenge, and again, it's a lot of internal work,
Mhm.
is imposter syndrome.
Okay.
So I think for me, like I mentioned in the beginning, because I don't see a lot of people that look like me in
Mhm.
my industry. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I work with a lot. My whole team is typically white male over 50. Like, that's my current
Wow.
team, and I'm
I
not.
need to get on.
Yeah,
I need to come in the
and
room.
and not saying that everywhere looks like that.
Right.
There are a mix of people, and
Mhm.
it's getting more diverse. But what I'm saying though is that when I join a call, I'm sure a lot of people get surprised, like, oh, you're my seller, you're the person
Mhm.
who's going to be talking about, cloud
Mhm.
and technology. And I maybe it's all in my head, but I sort of feel that imposter syndrome at times. I'm like, oh well, maybe I don't know what
Mm.
I think I know. And it's difficult when, again, the people in the room that you're talking to don't look like you and seem more experienced than you.
Mhm.
Like, sometimes I have people on the call that are like 25 years experience
Right.
in again, software engineering, whatever
Yeah.
it is. And I do feel it on me. I get nervous, and what I have to remind myself is that I went through 6 rounds of interviews, or however many
Mhm.
we most, everybody goes through like so many rounds of
Mhm.
interviews, and each round they've hired me. They said, yes, we
Mm.
want her. And so for that to happen, I'm like, I'm here for a
Yep.
reason. You got to remind yourself, again, flip it to the positive. I am here. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I think that's super important to remind yourself that, hey, I am making a difference here. And like,
Sure.
if you don't, even though I don't see people like me, again, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And also, I'm paving the way for others
Mhm.
who look like me. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about it. And when I tell myself that, then it just motivates me to just be where I am. And I also, last thing I would say, and that's probably a benefit too, is like, use everything as a learning experience.
Mhm.
It's like, whenever you're in an uncomfortable situation, you are always going to learn. There's no such thing as failure, only
Mhm.
feedback. So it's like,
I like that.
don't think of it as a failure. Think, okay, this is what the feedback I got, this is what I need to do better. I'm going to do better the next
Mhm.
time. And so that's what keeps me going. And then a benefit I would say to my role is honestly the pay.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna be honest,
period.
it's the pay.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of things. So I'm lucky I get to work remote, so I don't
Okay,
have to go, but
cool.
I get to also travel. I get paid to travel and see clients and build
Look at you.
relationships and take them out to dinners. And that's just so fun
Well,
being
what's the
able to know
prettiest place you've been
the
to?
prettiest place I've been to.
I wanna know.
I would say, well, no, I haven't traveled
Oh,
internationally,
okay, okay,
so
okay,
not that much in
okay.
US to cities. Hopefully I can get an international trip
Mhm.
soon, but just being able to get form those networks and those
Sure.
companies, like I have a lot of coworkers where the clients they've had, those clients have asked them, "Hey, can you work for us?"
That's
So
okay, go
you
ahead.
are already with this job, built such a big
Yeah.
network, and you're talking like at my age, I'm talking to CEOs of companies, the C-suite level, and I'm like,
Mhm.
who else at 25-year-old gets to influence the business
Mhm.
decisions of big companies?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so funny. Sometimes I see like on my phone like applications where I sold them the cloud.
Mhm.
I'm the
Mhm.
one who sold the technology that kind of powers it
Mhm.
and facilitates that app. And it's
That's
just
crazy.
awesome to see, like, hey, I know what they do. I
Mhm.
know the behind the scenes.
I had a hand in that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just awesome to be around that. And again, the pay that comes from
Mhm.
it, it's like there's no other job I truly believe, aside from entrepreneurship, where you can scale your pay so fast.
Mhm.
Like there's no cap to it. I've had a coworker doing the exact same thing as me make 500,000 in
Oh,
one year,
wow.
and another where you can get $1 million paychecks. I mean, again, that doesn't
Mhm.
happen like so often, but it's
It's
possible.
possible, yeah.
And so for me already to make a quarter million and then have the opportunity to get even more than that,
Because the
like,
next time she come back,
yeah,
she's gonna be at the
yeah,
500,000, okay?
I'm putting that in the universe.
Yes.
I am. So I think I love that I don't have to ever, change careers
Mhm.
or even work towards up the ladder. Like you can stay in the same role and still
And
be
still
able to
be
make a lot.
promoted.
Yeah, I don't
That's
have to be a
good.
manager. And I always tell people, I'm like, ultimately, believe it or not, my dream is not, I'm not a career woman in the sense of like I could care less about my career. I just want to get buy back my time and be able to be work optional. Like ultimately I want to be a mom, and have a family and instill the things that my parents instilled in me and give to them. So what's great is that this job is allowing me to have, to build up that
Mhm.
savings, build up for retirement, and also giving me time back in terms of working remote to, take care of if I have kids in the future, whatever it is, but
Mhm.
just to be able to do that, what I really want.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well, y'all, that was Miss Astrid. And if I didn't learn anything today, this is what I learned. No matter where you come from, no matter how you grew up, and no matter the amount of money you saw growing up, you can create a world for yourself. And you don't have to be a product of where you come from. Does that mean erase all the things that happened? No, because they made you who you are. But you can elevate. You can go above that and beyond that for your next generation to cuz our parents, when I say brought us up, I love my parents and they brought me up right. Okay, and I love them. But I'm telling you, my dad and my parents or my mom will look at me and go, "Yes." So when they pass on and transition, they know that their generation is on this earth and we're well taken care of.
Mm.
They did their job, and that's like my goal, like to make
Yeah.
sure my parents look at me and go, "Okay, you
Yeah.
did good."
Yeah,
And I know
exactly.
your parents are saying that about you, baby. I
Yeah,
know
thank
it.
you.
I
No,
know it.
I love it, and also just I love that my parents are so young too, because
Mhm.
hopefully, I can retire them early and we
Look at
can,
you.
enjoy
Mhm.
what they felt that they might have
Yeah.
missed out on
Mhm.
later. And then so that's another goal I have, and hopefully I can get there. So,
That's beautiful. Anything else you want to say to the audience before you go? A little message?
I would like to say that another. So I already said no, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. But I also want to say something that my mom actually taught me. Is that when you encounter obstacles, it only means you're moving forward. So think about it. Like when you initially, you're working towards something, or if you're not working towards something, you stay stagnant and you don't feel like, hey, there's just nothing going on. But if you're working towards a goal and you feel like, oh my God, I can't get to it, those obstacles means you're moving towards
Mhm.
something. And ultimately, when you get to the other side, you're just gonna be like, wow, like
I
this
did
was,
that.
yeah, I did that. And so if you're going through it right now, whatever it is, just keep persevering, keep having that discipline. And once you get to the other side, you're just going to look back and be like, wow, I've accomplished what I thought I would. So
Mhm. That's dope. Thank you for coming.
thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
for
having
coming
me.
for real.
Mhm.
Okay, so no matter where you go, no matter what you do, no matter how you grow, baby, remember that there's always room for you right here on the couch. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen. You a fool for this one.